How does a real-life monster become a legend? Can a single animal truly be responsible for hundreds of deaths? And is it possible for a creature to be so cunning, so elusive, that it transcends being an animal and becomes a myth, a ghost story whispered with fear and respect? These aren't questions from a movie. These are the very real, very terrifying questions that surrounded one of the most infamous predators in recorded history. A creature whose estimated body count reaches a staggering 300 souls. A crocodile known by only one name, Gustav. Today, we are diving into the heart of this mystery. This is the complete, untold story of the demon croc of Burundi. Our story is set in a place of breathtaking beauty and hidden danger, the Ruzizi River and the northern shores of Lake Tanganyika in Burundi. For the people living in the villages along these banks, the water is the source of life, for fishing, for transport, for bathing. But for decades, it was also the source of a deep, pervasive dread. The first stories were easy for outsiders to dismiss. Fishermen's tales, exaggerations. A big crocodile, sure, but that's to be expected. But the stories didn't stop. They persisted. And they were always the same. The descriptions were consistent. A crocodile of impossible, monstrous size, with a massive body covered in a map of dark, horrific scars. Consider this. A large, dominant male Nile crocodile is impressive at 16 feet. Gustav was consistently described as being well over 20 feet long, with some estimates placing him closer to 25. But his size was only part of the horror. His body was a living testament to a lifetime of brutal violence. His hide was a canvas of bullet wounds, deep spear gashes, and tears from battles with hippos and other crocodiles. This wasn't just an animal, it was a prehistoric survivor, a veteran of 100 wars who had always emerged victorious. But a large, scarred crocodile doesn't become a legend like Gustav. It was his behavior, his methodology, that transformed him from a predator into a phantom. Gustav was a specialist. While other crocodiles content themselves with fish, antelope, or the occasional head of cattle, Gustav developed a taste for human flesh. Piecing together decades of attacks and disappearances, local authorities and researchers have estimated his victim count to be anywhere from 200 to 300 people. The true number will never be known. His hunting patterns were what made him so terrifyingly unique. He wasn't a constant threat. He would vanish. For months, sometimes even a year, there would be no sign of him. And then, without warning, he would reappear in a new location further along the river, unleashing a concentrated wave of attacks before melting away into the murky water once again. He displayed a chilling, uncanny intelligence. He avoided all traditional traps and snares. He seemed to mock the hunters and soldiers sent to kill him, appearing only to disappear again. He wasn't just hunting, he was ruling his domain through fear. His presence was so palpable that certain areas of the river were completely abandoned by villagers. He wasn't just a predator, he was a ghost in the water, a force of nature that struck without warning and without consequence. The legend of Gustav could not be contained forever. It eventually captured the world's imagination. In the early 2000s, a determined French herpetologist named Patrice Fay made it his mission to find Gustav. His goal wasn't necessarily to kill him, but to finally capture him, to study him, and to end his reign of terror by relocating him to a secure facility. Fay's quest was the subject of the famous documentary, Capturing the Killer Croc. Fay's efforts were monumental. He designed and built a massive, incredibly strong cage trap that required a team of men to deploy. It was baited with a live goat, and Fay spent countless nights watching and waiting. And Gustav did come. He was filmed. For the first time, the world saw the myth made real, a crocodile of immense size, with the characteristic scars, circling the trap. But he was never caught. He would approach, inspect the strange metal contraption, and then retreat back into the darkness. He showed curiosity, but also a profound instinct for danger. Other expeditions followed, armed with better equipment and more funding. All ended in the same result: failure. Gustav was always one step ahead, It was as if he was playing a game, and he was the only one who knew the rules. So, what ultimately happened to Gustav? The last credible sightings were over a decade ago. His fate is the final, unanswered question of his legend. There are theories, of course. Some believe he finally died of old age, sinking to the bottom of the river he ruled for over half a century, a king dying in his kingdom. Others speculate that a poacher's bullet or a rival's tooth finally ended his reign, his story ending not in a dramatic capture, but in a silent, anonymous death. Perhaps the constant pressure from hunters forced him to retreat to a remote, inaccessible part of the vast lake system, living out his days in a hidden lagoon. The truth is, we don't know. No colossal carcass was ever found. No hunter ever came forward with definitive proof. Gustav vanished as he lived, in complete mystery. And so, Gustav remains exactly what he always was, a legend. A story told on the banks of the Ruzizi. A warning about the untamed and unknowable power of the natural world. He was a monster, a demon, a force of nature, and perhaps, the perfect predator. If you were captivated by the mystery of Gustav, share this video with someone who loves a true unsolved story. And to join us as we unravel more of history's greatest legends and untold events, make sure to subscribe to the Unscripted show and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next investigation. Thanks for watching.